Good morning, folks. How are you doing? Today is Friday. I believe it is the 26th day of August, 2022. I had to peek down there in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. It is bright and early, about 7:48. I have a 9 a.m. doctor's appointment, so I have to rush through this as quickly as possible today. I'll do another video when I get back from the doctor's office. Wanted to put this out there for you to take a look at as quickly as possible. Muriel Bowser is the mayor of the District of Columbia. And she has a real penchant for Faux-vaxes. I mean, it's really important to her that everybody around gets the Faux-vaxes, in spite of the fact that one thing that she's tried to do was deemed illegal by the Supreme Court. And the other is really fucking tone deaf at this particular juncture in time. CDC new guidelines from the CDC focus on individual decisions. Those exposed to the virus are no longer required to quarantine. Even if you have it, you don't have to quarantine. Unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people. Treat the unvaccinated the exact same way you treat the vaccinated. Students can stay in class after being exposed to the virus. Students can stay in class after being exposed to the virus. What does that mean? That means the virus ain't that big of a fucking deal. And it's no longer recommended to screen those without symptoms. That comes from August the 11th. That's been around for a while. Apparently, even though it's been around for a while, Muriel Bowser here, mayor of the District of Columbia, has not figured that out yet. No one's given her the memo. Well, you know what? It's time we give her the memo. She was told by the D.C. Superior Court judge when she tried to mandate all D.C. employees get the COVID-19 Faux-vax after even Biden wasn't able to fucking do that with employees, with federal employees. Last year in December, they told her that was illegal. It was unlawful. It was immoral. It was unconstitutional. And so she had to crawl back into her little fucking pouty hole and figure out some other way to help fucking Big Pharma. So what did she do? She thought employees were fucking defenseless, but turns out they had a union. Well, who doesn't have unions? Children. So this bitch of a human being then decided that all DC students must have vaccinations to attend school in the fall. This, by the way, is the fall. The fall starts for them Monday. Mayor Muriel Bowser said D.C. will strictly enforce the rule that all students, including those at private and charter schools, be up to date on routine vaccinations and immunizations this coming school year. Not only that, but also the COVID-19 jabs. This is from August 25th. 2022 from the Daily Signal. And here she is, of course, saying, DC has a vaccine mandate requiring students aged 12 and older to be inoculated against COVID-19. Many black students, 40%, will not meet that requirement. Now, here's the deal. Not only are they saying that you cannot have access to a public education, which their parents pay for with their taxes, which their grandparents paid for with their taxes, which we pay for with our taxes, And she has no fucking right to become a dictator for big fucking pharma. She's also saying not only can they not attend school, but they're not going to fucking facilitate any form of distance learning. That's right, boys and girls. This fucking bitch is saying if you don't get these mRNA fucking experimental jabs in your kids, then your kids will remain ignorant. And she's saying that primarily to black kids. Over 40% of blacks aged 12 to 17 are not vaccinated. She's doing that, quote unquote, to her own fucking people. God fucking damn. There is a special hell for this person. I'm sorry, folks. I damn sure don't use that term very often, but you know what? She's earned it. Trying to push for vaccine mandates for city employees even after the federal government realizes they can't fucking get away with it. This little dictator thinks she can. And then, once that's shot down, she tries to figure out another way to appease and collaborate with big business taking over our goddamn government. And it's not just the federal government. It's also state government and, of course, city government. Let me show you something. This is Dr. Claire Craig. And she says, Americans under the age of 40 reckon they had a 10% chance of dying if they catch COVID. That comes specifically from a fucking study where they asked all these fucking people, how many of you think you're going to die if you catch COVID if you're under the age of 40? The number was 10%. Turns out Cambridge University shows it was more like 0.024%. That's the same fucking number we've been talking about, I don't know, since May 2020, and being kicked off of social media outlets like this one for saying it. But there's the facts. Now, how is there that big of a discrepancy? Because they lied to you. They lied to you in service to big business, just like, I don't know, Muriel Bowser here. Now, I showed you that image that Miss Bowser doesn't seem to understand. Students can stay in class even after being exposed to the virus. Doesn't matter. And unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people. Apparently, someone's not paying attention to the fucking science. Muriel Bowser. Here's the science. Here's Muriel Bowser. Here's the science. Here's Muriel Bowser. It doesn't matter. She's a dictator. Listen to this.
Covered all the needs of the population.
Thank you. And my second question is for Dr. Quash. I believe you mentioned in French that when it comes to COVID in schools and with children, it might be time to treat it more like other respiratory viruses. Could you explain what you mean by that?
Well, what I meant is we see complications arising from other respiratory viruses, be it influenza, RSV. What we've seen in terms of severity of COVID disease in children is that it is actually less than influenza for most age groups.
Oh, dear Jesus. Who is that? Carolyn Quach, chair of Quebec's Immunization Committee. Oh, so she knows some shit. And what is she saying? For children the Rona is less lethal than the fucking seasonal flu.
This be it influenza, RSV. What we've seen in terms of severity of COVID disease in children is that it is actually less than influenza for most age groups in terms of rates of hospitalization.
Okie dokie. This is the face of evil. Right there. Now, I don't call people bitches, and I don't use such fucking ridiculous terminology as the face of evil. I leave that kind of crap to fucking the asswipes like fucking Alex Jones. But I will tell you, this is the face of fucking evil. This is the face of some middle management pencil pusher trying to worm her way up the fucking ladder. And doesn't give a shit who she harms in the process. You have to be brain dead not to make the connection between myocarditis and other problems and these goddamn faux-vaxes. These untested, still being tested, medical treatments. You have to be brain dead. She doesn't look brain dead to me. She looks like a determined ladder climber. Out to get hers. I'm going to get mine. And that's what she's doing. And she will sell out her fucking employees throughout the whole city if she can. That failed. And so now she's going for the lowest hanging fruit. That's right, boys and girls. She's going for your goddamn children. This person needs to be fired. She needs to be fired. If she is literally out there saying all these kids have to be fucking vaccinated with these experimental fucking Rona faux-vaxes before they are allowed access to what their constitutional rights give them, an education and a chance to advance in society, then she needs to be fucking removed. Because that is beyond the fucking pale. Muriel Bowser is a goddamn tone deaf, apparently uneducated, apologist dictator for Big Pharma. There is no way she is so uneducated as that she does not understand what has been happening in the news regarding COVID-19, its severity, the effects of the goddamn faux-vaxes, and how little damage and how little the risk is to fucking children. To people under 40 for one thing, but to children especially. And yet she does it anyway, knowing full well what the risks are to those kids. This is the face of fucking evil, and she should be fired. And this action from hers should follow her for the rest of her professional career. If ever there was a reason to blacklist somebody and keep them from getting a job, here it is. Selling out not only her own employees, but when that failed, over 40% of blacks aged 12 to 17 in the fucking city. Her own damn people. Fire this bitch.